But these are pictures of Prime Minister Narendra Modi. He's leaving for China. It's a historic two-day visit from the 14th to the 16th. Prime Minister Narendra Modi, he will visit Xian first, and after Xian, he will go to Beijing. But it's at President Xi Jinping's home in Xian where the Prime Minister will be welcomed by the Chinese President. And this is after Prime Minister Narendra Modi invited Chinese President Xi Jinping to Ahmedabad. This is a reciprocal visit. The Prime Minister has talked about this visit. He said he hopes that this will bring about a new change in the bilateral relations between India and China. A lot on the table, a lot on the cards as far as this visit is concerned. The boundary dispute, of course, between India and China, it's been there since the 1962 war between the two countries. It's been there from even earlier before that, but that is an issue which will be addressed independently. There is a separate mechanism. Trade ties, cultural ties, economic relationship, a Chinese bullet train. These are some of the issues that will come up in this two-day visit. Headlines today, Smita Sharma now joins me with the latest. Smita, there is a vexed boundary issue, but there is a lot more to India-China relationship. The Prime Minister is flying into Xian. You are on ground zero. Take us through the highlights of what's expected on this visit.
Well, absolutely, Gaurav. You know, when we talk about the India-China relationship, that is about these two Asian economic giants with very powerful ambitions, in fact, and two countries with the entire world watches very closely. There is, in fact, not just a conflict or not just contentious issues, but there is greater scope for collaboration and competition as well. Prime Minister Narendra Modi, in fact, who has now just taken off from Delhi, is what we're told, but, you know, he will be arriving in Xian. This used to be really a former capital of Imperial China at one point. 13 dynasties have ruled through the years in Xian. He comes in at 7:30 in the morning, but it's really at 10:30 local time, which is almost around 8 o'clock Indian time when his schedule begins. In fact, he will be given a glimpse of the ancient, magnificent history of China, be taken to the terracotta warriors, really, also to different places, to a temple visit. There are all these cultural events that the Wild Goose Pagoda, in fact, in Xian is another place that he will stop over, the ancient city gate. But it's only 3:30 in the local time when Mr. Xi Jinping, who is really making a departure from protocol, who is coming all the way to his hometown of Shaanxi, and 3:30 local time is when the two leaders will go in for restricted talks. These talks will be of crucial importance, Gaurav, because remember, at the end of the day, Xi Jinping is the ultimate authority in China today, and these talks, in a way, will be the precursor for that structured dialogue between Li Keqiang and Prime Minister Narendra Modi in Beijing day after. But really, baby steps is what people are expected to come up with, not really a big resolution on the vexed boundary issue, but more back-to-back, in fact, business-to-business or government-to-government MAUs, certainly we are looking at in terms of economic cooperation.
Okay. Now, if we were to specifically talk about key takeaways, what's on the cards? Is this just a symbolic reciprocal visit, or is there a tangible takeaway from this visit?
Well, you know, Gaurav, you also cover diplomatic affairs pretty closely, and sometimes I think we raise expectations so much that we get lost in all of that. You know, when you look at a country like India and China, it is not really about the announcements that can be made at all possible times. Well, Mr. Narendra Modi here on this visit, this will, of course, be a visit that will make for very interesting visuals, very interesting photo ops, something that we saw happen, in fact, in Ahmedabad when Mr. Xi Jinping was on that India visit last September, and Mr. Narendra Modi, in fact, took Mr. Xi Jinping to his home state. We saw him and the First Lady on the swing there on the Sabarmati River front. But if similar pictures will be played out, clearly they will perhaps lay out intentions. But India and China, they have this historic legacy. They have issues that a lot of people, in fact, allege that India takes a pacifist stand on. India perhaps doesn't take a position on. In terms of the tangibles, we are, of course, hearing through, of course, the MHA sources as well that e-visa announcement is likely for Chinese businessmen and perhaps Chinese tourists as well, because as far as Indian tourism goes, we do not get a very high share of the Chinese tourists who otherwise make up for a bulk of the tourists globally. That is something that India is hoping for. Chinese, in fact, are really keen to come into the high-speed railway sector, to the bullet train railway sector. They've already, of course, undertaken feasibility studies, especially in that Delhi to Chennai corridor, that long corridor. But will it move any further? Because we do also learn that in India, certain sections are wary. They would perhaps prefer a Japanese technology coming in for high than Chinese. So there are these issues that are on the table in terms of tangibles. Not really much that we are expecting at this point, Gaurav.
Now, in the past, Smita, every time there was a summit-level meeting, whether in Ahmedabad or before that, when then Prime Minister Manmohan Singh had visited Beijing and I'd accompanied him on that visit, there was an incursion at the line of actual control just to show that the situation isn't normal. Is something like that feared even this time?
Well, people can only hope, Gaurav, that it doesn't happen. But yes, history tends to repeat itself more so when it comes to India's diplomatic relationship with its neighbors, be it China or be it Pakistan. Even every time you talk about summit-level meetings with Pakistan, there is always that apprehension of the talks being held in the shadow of terror. With China, though, remember Xi Jinping, in the press conference last year while he was in Delhi, and when he was asked, he, of course, seemed to indicate that all these incursions, which, of course, the Chinese also allege that they happen even from the Indian side, it's essentially because there is that huge perception problem about the line of actual control. But Xi Jinping seemed to suggest, of course, that these were all localized actions, that they were more to do with the local commanders, but something that has been taken with a pinch of salt by a lot of experts in India who say that, the PLA, the ultimate commander is the Chinese president. Perhaps not really much localized action can take place on the ground. So we'll have to wait a couple of hours and see as to what the morning brings really in terms of the situation on the ADC, Gaurav.
Smita in Xian, for the moment, many thanks for joining me. I will come back to you for more as this big story develops. Prime Minister Narendra Modi on his historic visit to China.